In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to a place at the table. Aisha once said, if you're looking for a rose-tinted version of things, you've come to the wrong place. I say, if you're looking for some frank conversation, then pull up a chair. I'll be asking, are we all responsible for child labor?
You can't be asking me, Yinka. I'm an IJGB. However, in the spirit of frank talk, I'm saying, united we stand, divided
we fall. Welcome back, Glady. Frank talk is right. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's not call it youth unemployment when it's youth unemployability.
Completely right. I have a question for you, Aisha. What do you call a perennial problem that refuses to go away?
Kate, if it looks like corruption and smells like corruption, it's probably corruption. Oh, I'm saying it's questionable that banks receive payments into dormant accounts, yet when it comes to withdrawals, it's like going to war. What did they happen?
overruled.
Aisha, are you not the queen of calling a spade a spade? Whether you call it frank talk or strict talk, either way, we will be pulling punches.
Yeah.
Recently, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, Therese Wagner, wrote a letter to the Arsenal Football Club demanding the end of its sponsorship deal with Rwanda amidst human rights concerns. She accused Rwanda of waging a proxy war in the DRC through its support for the rebel group M23. Now, this conflict has a long history with ethnic and regional complexities, but that's not the focus of my advocacy. What caught my attention in the letter was a reference to legal proceedings launched against Apple over blood minerals allegedly in the supply chain. The DRC holds the world's largest reserves of cobalt and is a major producer of other minerals. Cobalt is a crucial component in batteries for vehicles and electronics for major tech firms like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Samsung. It happens that millions of children in the DRC are engaged in forced child labor to mine these minerals that find their way into the supply chain and ultimately into the hands of mobile phone users all over the world, including you. These big tech corporations with total market capitalization exceeding $8 trillion, and ultimately every user of their product is, in my opinion, vicariously liable for the human rights abuses of these children. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child recognizes the right of children to be protected from economic exploitation and from performing any work that is likely to be hazardous or to interfere with their education. The ILO Convention number 138 and 182 prescribes the minimum age children are allowed to work while focusing on the elimination of the most harmful forms of child labor. This is not a problem for the DRC alone. Almost all African countries have the same problem with child labor. The ILO estimates that over 72 million children are engaged in child labor. But there are a few instances where child labor is the source of extreme wealth in the West and a tool of necessity for over 7 billion smartphone users. Doubtless, the conflict in the DRC is an enabler, but so also is big tech and our insatiable demand for mobile phones.
What we typically call child labor, a lot of Africans don't consider it child labor. Consider the fact that people literally have children so they can have farm hands. So we have that, which also highlights the cultural and social differences between the different regions. Outside that, I think it's a stretch to blame the big tech for this. There are at least 3 to 4 degrees of separation away from the actual mining of the cobalt. But also, we all have social responsibility to ensure fair practices. But the question I'm asking is it really forced labor? Are they slaves? Because it is only when they are slaves that it becomes forced labor. Where are their parents? Where is the government that is meant to protect them? Child labor, child non-labor, are they getting paid for these services? Are there fair practices? I think the focus should be on, okay, if you're engaging a minor, what protections has the government put in place to ensure that they are not being exploited in any form?
I would rather they get paid, but at the very foundation is to let children be children. But then it also behoves on the family. That is where the first permission comes from. The home, from where the child comes from, then the government. Are they protected? Like Zumah said, what are the best practices that are being operated or being used to make sure that they are not exploited? I mean, if you are using a child of 5-4 years, that's wickedness.
5-4 years?
I don't know. What age? What age are we talking about?
I mean, we're talking about
teenagers?
literally kids. We're not talking kids. We're not talking about teenagers.
6 years.
No.
7 years. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I cannot. I take back. Yes, I'm sorry. I take back everything I said.
What can they do?
I'm talking about teenagers who at least can. But you have to pay them, but not to children, toddlers.
Not toddlers. Not preschoolers.
Children.
No.
If I can just
and some of these children have actually been exposed to sexual exploitation.
Where is the family?
To this. So
where is the government? That's
Aisha.
my question.
So I get it now, Zumah. You didn't understand when they say child labor. We're not talking about teenagers who are 16, 17.
Or preteens, 13.
No, we're talking about little children. And some of them, there have been situation reports of some of them being sold. Being bought, yes, as slaves. You see them, they sell them. The first thing we need to understand when we're saying where are their parents, it's the fact that when we're talking about exploitation, it's not the fact that the parents should know what to do or not to do. What is the environment like? They're at war, they're running for their lives. So everybody, that thing you talked about, kids being born to be farm hands, it happened all over the world. Whether in the West, in Africa, everywhere, that was what was happening before. But after a while, the world evolved, and we need to have children in school. And so they have to be in school. They can't be there picking minerals. I know something you said where we say, we the users are liable. And that's the first thing that hit me. Because I use smartphone. It interests us to change it all the time. So we're also leading to this whole thing happening. And because of the minerals
we should stop using smartphone.
We shouldn't stop using it, but we should hold them accountable. How are you getting it? See, let me tell you something. Honestly, we the older generation, right? There's a way we look at violation of human rights because some we don't understand some because we have gone through it and we see it's normal. So we are responsible in a way because we can also hold them accountable to say we're not going to use your product because of the way kids are being brought in. If you see those children, little children, they are packed in one place and then they are picking stones because it's not something that you need a lot of energy to do. It's not something that you need. Maturity. Just sit down. They bring out this the mineral, sieve it, and then the kids are picking. The kids can sit down and pick them, and they put them in one. And in some cases, you see where they're being sold. It's bad. And the thing is that Africa has failed its people. With all of this wealth, we have people who need this wealth. They're coming in, they're causing chaos. And that Rwanda, Kagame, where's my camera? That Kagame of a Kagame. People are here. He has brought development to Rwanda or whatever. He's like another Mugabe. We are watching him in our presence. He has turned to Mugabe. He has refused to go out of there. Part of doing proxy war in that place and everything. And we're silent about it. Children need to be protected. Let me tell you something. When I hear people say to me, oh, adulting is hard, I'm always shocked. Because I couldn't wait to be an adult. Do you know why? I hated the fact that I was helpless while adults were making decisions and I was suffering. So these children can't do anything. And the adults around there have failed them, the government have failed them, the world has failed them, Africa has failed. And black lives will not matter until we get our economic power.
I think the crucial thing to ask, let's put the extreme, egregious aspects of it, like the sexual exploitation and the slavery out of it. We're just looking at children in the workplace. First of all, what is the age? Then, second of all, what are the rules of engagement when you're getting children to do things? Well, children run tasks. Even in African tradition, some children used to follow their mothers to the stream to get water. That's not exploitation.
No.
And then, third of all, what are the conditions of service? So in an industry like mining, which requires rigorous man hours and which is very strenuous, it would suggest to me that that's not the best place for children.
Yes.
But can children be productive even from an early age? I think so. And if we're to look to the east, far east, for their models of education right now, what you see on the internet these days are kids very young in their kindergarten stage, learning how to
Activity-based.
activity-based and cooking for themselves. I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Well, and whereby the Western education that we inherited is actually preparing us for an economy that we're helpless to contribute towards. So I think that leads us to another topic exactly. I think we need to also rejig what preparation of our children are towards making them more productive members of society. So that's my 2 pence.
I agree that there is a part of our culture that encourages children to be involved in economic activity, and that prepares them, maybe in the farm and all that. But I think that when it crosses a line to which they're exploited, basically for their labor, I think that is something that we should condemn. And that's also something that we can, pressure these big tech firms, all right, or tech companies that are making trillions, literally trillions out of it, and out of the backs of all these children that are barely seeing a tiny fraction of the wealth that is going.
And that is where protectionism comes in.
And that brings to mind what we spoke about last week. Remember the vaccine thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, because we are as vulnerable as the tiniest of us.
Yes.
Okay. The law of supply and demand says that the supply is directly linked to the demand. So where child labor is needed to provide for our need, please fill in the gap.
It's a simple equation, Yinka, just like the one I'm proposing next. United we stand, divided we fall is a common enough parlance or even common sense wisdom. A recent incident demonstrates the sense in this statement. I refer, of course, to the case of a certain Miss Gloria Ibukun Omishore traveling on Kenyan Airways along the following route: Manchester to Paris to Nairobi to Lagos, inbound, and Lagos, Nairobi, Paris to Manchester, outbound. According to the passenger, her ticket was purchased after confirming with the airline that as a British resident, she would not require a visa to go through Europe. Her outward leg was uneventful. It only became a matter of public interest after the passenger encountered bad treatment on her return leg by a Kenyan Airways official. Upon being told she couldn't board the flight due to visa restrictions, the video clip making the rounds shows Ms. Gloria saying that she was on the phone to the finance minister and the Airways official repeatedly taunting her to call the president if she liked. Subsequently, following a show of solidarity on X by several Nigerians and the intervention of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, an apology has been sought for by the NCAA, and the Kenyan Airways have apologized for the obfuscation of facts as well as the treatment of the passenger, amongst other demands. The moral of the story? Where we stand as one people, irrespective of our tribe or religious affiliations, and speak with one voice, we are heard. Additionally, the issue of long-standing disrespect of Nigerian passengers by Kenyan Airways was raised by NCAA and demonstrates that where one passenger is disrespected, it translates to all Nigerians. Let us not think that we are divorced from this bad treatment and even discrimination. It therefore places a responsibility on us to embrace the fight for justice and fair treatment as a national and even Pan-African one. I throw in as an extra that where we are baited to pursue selfish and divisive agendas or choose to wash our dirty linen in public, as with a certain opposition prime minister in the UK, we only show our narrow vision. It is called cutting our noses to spite our faces.
What do airlines have against Nigerians? Why do they feel comfortable to disrespect us and treat us with disdain, despite the heavy traffic? You know, Nigerians are always traveling. And why does a woman need to prove that she's on a period before she's granted access to care? It is not, I can't even comprehend it. Nigerians are amazing people when non-Nigerians are trying to disrespect us or trying to mess with us. But I just hope we can imbibe that across board. When it becomes internal. That's it for me.
So kudos and bigs up, big congrats, thumbs up for Michael Achimogu.
Michael Achimogu, well done.
I don't know, I think he's a director in NCAA.
Okay, good.
And he took this issue up from the very get-go, and he got to the end of it. And I think that demonstrates the fact that where a Nigerian is treated badly, whether that Nigeria is
he knows anybody or not,
you know, we're able to stand up to say, you know, it must be respected. And it was very clear the fact that there were portions where the woman was unruly, you know, in the way that she was. And he said, we will not accept unruly behavior. However, we must hold the airline accountable. Yes. And you're completely right. You're right, the fact that she should not have been allowed to board from Lagos if there were visa issues. She was issued a boarding pass through to Manchester from Lagos. Their reaction should have been, oh, we made a mistake. Oh, okay, how do we remedy this situation? Yeah. Okay, and then, according to the lady, which was later corroborated by Michael, they asked her to prove, because, I mean, according to the Kenya Airways said, oh, they gave her an alternative and she refused, you know, she refused to board. But the lady came out and said, no, that's not the case. She accepted to board, but she had already done 17 hours layover. They were going to add another 10 hours of layover for her. And she said, look, I need accommodation. I need care. All right. And by the way, I'm going through my monthly period and I need care. And they asked her to prove that she was on a monthly period. That's where the whole conversation around her throwing sanitary pads and stuff like that.
Well, they ask an American to prove.
I said, look, it's an embarrassment. It's demeaning for you to even ask her for that after delaying her that much. And the situation could have been better managed if there were mature people on the other side who would have looked at that to say, hey, let's see how we can do it.
In terms of this whole Schengen, UK, it's Brexit now. They say they wanted everybody out. They didn't understand the implication. Because I also remember at the time my son was also stopped at the airport. We had bought a ticket. He was supposed to go. He had this, what do you call this, resident permit, whatever. He wasn't allowed to board. They ordinarily shouldn't have allowed her to board from the beginning.
From Lagos.
Yeah. Sometimes mistakes are made. I remember also an experience I had traveling I was going from Aberdeen to Dakar. And I had used one of these European airlines, and I had to enter, what is it called now? The Holland, is it Schiphol? I don't know how they pronounce it. Schiphol. Okay, the airport there. So, but unfortunately, my own was that I now had to also go through to now go to France or something like that. But they will tell you that if you have a visa, an American visa or a Canadian visa, you can go through. But that's if you're flying and not entering any of the Schengen. So they allowed me to. So when I showed the person, they allowed me to go through the first leg. But when I got to the second leg, they said no. So I had to, you know, come back. That happened last year. Very dramatic story. I was actually sick when I was on that journey. I collapsed at the airport. Yeah, I fell down. I collapsed, and I found people who were humane. I saw humanity at this, and they took care of me, even though they didn't know me. But coming back to the story is the fact that we Nigerians are always treated anyhow. And I'll tell you people, please don't laugh.
No, tell me, because that's right.
But you know the thing I was looking at, I was thinking, is there any Nigerian guy that broke her heart or something? Because the way that woman was reacting to that woman, it went beyond just the job, the way she was like so infuriated. But I think at the end of the day, the staff didn't manage it well.
No.
There's a way you treat customers, yes. And there's sometimes they're actually very arrogant when they see that green pass. I have quarreled with people along. Because
our
for me,
passports.
you cannot disrespect it. And as Nigerians, we're always treated
with disdain.
With disdain. So this is the thing about especially even in Africa and other countries, the fact that one, how dare we're very loud. So if other Africans want to unite, it's always on Nigerian issues. So they all see, you people feel too much. And then because of the fact they know that we are failing ourselves, even we are failing them. So they always carry that out on us. But I think at the end of the day, I would say the whole issue was, handled well in the fact that the institution stepped up and did something.
All I want to say is that Zumah is right. Our green passport causes problem, whether we like it or not. And it's high time we put some respect on ourselves so that people can respect us. And it comes from the top to the bottom. I'm talking about everybody. Sometimes I see Nigerians, trying to board in a place, and they're really, I'm sorry, very rowdy and
really.
They say, sit down. We have landed. Don't stand up. Reach for your luggage. Why? And me, I don't take disrespect. If I get to a border, you don't greet me, I'll not greet you. Ask me for passport, I'll give you. I have legitimate right to be here. You can just tell by the body language that when they see this, they say, this one is a thief or something. I'm not one of those. So don't blanket shame anybody or tie everybody. But we need to get our respect together for ourselves first, so that somebody outside will not come and abuse you.
Big ups to, is it Michael Achimoglu? When we find Nigerians in offices, knowing why they are there to protect and project Nigeria in a positive light, we have to give big ups. So in the spirit of BBOG, he indeed brought back our girl, Gloria Ibuku.
That was smooth.
Man, you're a smooth operator. Come on now.
So without a doubt, unity will be at the heart of a stronger, greater nation and even continent. Is this why it's proven so elusive?
Unity of purpose and voice. It's very important. And add to that, youth unemployability. We need to hold up a vision of the future. For the past decade, we have bewailed the lack of jobs for Nigerian youth, but we have refused to ask ourselves why so many young people, even with degrees, cannot find or keep jobs. Unemployment statistics keep rising, while organizations keep lamenting the roles they can't fill due to a lack of qualified talent. This advocacy is not about unemployment, but about employability, a crisis that is currently stealing the dreams of our nation's potential. Organizations put out roles, receive hundreds of CVs, and still struggle to find the match. If the knowledge is there, the skill is missing. If the skill is there, the attitude is off. Which brings us to the question, how employable are Nigerian youth? And to be honest, it's not their fault. It is our educational system's fault. Graduates emerge with degrees, but lack the practical, digital, and critical thinking skills that 21st century employers desperately seek. They are equipped with theory, but unprepared for the dynamic, ever-evolving demands of today's workplace. And most organizations are not willing to extend the rope to let them learn on the job. We cannot continue this way. We cannot. Our tertiary institutions need to evolve. They must embrace curricula that reflect the needs of the 21st century. We need to infuse practical experience, soft skills, and real-world projects into learning. The youth can't be passive learners. They must also take responsibility for their learning. You have access to the internet and the endless information it contains. Use it to build the skills that will set you apart. And most importantly, seek out internships, not just for the paycheck, but for the invaluable experience and relationships they provide. And to the corporate world, I say, invest in our youth. Look beyond traditional qualifications. Provide robust trainings. Mentor them and allow the youth to grow into their role. Remember, recruitment isn't just about filling vacancies. It's about betting on people and providing them with the resources needed to thrive. It's about developing the next generation and igniting their success. What are you doing to bridge the unemployment employability gap among Nigerian youth?
First of all, I've long held the view that today's curriculums at all levels are not reflective of the skill sets and the knowledge required to engage our local and global economies. Because we're still learning today the same things we learned 2-3 generations ago, and which have no direct bearing on making us relevant in this today's world. And I also marvel at the lack of creativity that attends even occupants of public offices. So, because when we say that, what we hear every day, that countries like India are taking advantage of the IT and the income streams that come along with it, which are not inconsiderable. And what we also see, that even some of our youths that we haven't done anything for are showing us that it's possible to earn income, even from social media and those things.
Yeah, digital.
I wonder if people who manage our national lives are watching that and putting a team together to say, how can we respond to this and provide jobs, even though we have failed to do it, but how can we tap into what is a global trend? Now, how can we put a strategy around that? So those are some of the things that agitate my mind from time to time. Kate, what do you think?
I agree with Zumah, and I also see the other part, the youth unemployability. Like, okay, how did they get the degree? How did they get the degree? Did they pay for it to be given? And then I also realized that this is the case of not just going through school, but the school going through you. Because you gain experiences from interactions, and then you have this device which literally brings the world to your fingertips, literally. And what are you using it for? Are you using it to get skills that will make you, stand above your peers, or you're just scrolling through social media? What are you using to give yourself value? Then I also understand about if these companies don't invest, like you now Japa, with all that have deposited on your inside, you now carry my knowledge and run away. It's chicken and egg a situation. I understand why corporations will be like, oh, it's a dime a dozen, but I also want the youth to be able to give more value, to what they bring to the table. That's basically what I'm saying.
I did a master's program recently in Europe, and I came out of that feeling like my almost 16 years of primary and secondary school education was educational abuse. Because I saw education in a different light. And I agree absolutely with what Ladi said. It starts from the curriculum itself. It starts from the quality of the curriculum, because it dictates exactly what happens after.
That's the foundation.
And the relevance of it.
And the relevance of it. So we're not having conversations every day about how this curriculum is relevant to the jobs of the future. The question today is that when was the last time our curriculum was reviewed? So it starts from the curriculum. I mean, today we have computer experts who graduated from computer science in Nigeria who never saw or worked on any program, who never coded anything.
A computer.
Or whatever. We have engineers who went through 6 years now, of engineering school, university, and they never worked on anything. They never saw a proper machine system. We have a big problem with the process that churns out the Nigerian skilled worker. And as long as you have that, we'll continue to have this situation where the Nigerian corporations, and I think that's one of the things you didn't want to say, will recruit from abroad, and that's that's where we are.
That's the trend now.
But anyway, Aisha.
So talking about recruitment, you understand, it's not even the corporate in the corporate world alone. Even when you're looking for artisans, most times you recruit those who are not doing the job better. And when you talked about like corporations training the youth and all of that, some of them do. Guess what happens? The people keep leaving. So you're training, they take them away, and it takes a whole lot of money. I know of an accounting firm, they train their people, and before you know, so they're either jackpotting or something. Because at the end of the day, like we all rightly agreed, it's all about that the educational system.
Foundation.
But there's something also, the internet that we have today. Many people are using it to make quick money. So it's about doing some funny things that are not on the road. It's about flashing. I saw some people talking about somebody is flashing. They'll tell you to flash. Girls are removing their clothes to show their body.
On TikTok.
On TikTok, just like that. It's crazy. So for them, it brings in the dollars, it brings in money. So people are just doing all manner of skits without actually learning. You know why? It takes a long time for you to learn. So the reward doesn't come immediately. It's not instant gratification, it's delayed gratification. So that sustainability,
they don't
because Nigerians don't understand delayed gratification.
Yes.
All they know about is that instant gratification. And I'll give you an example. When we were in school, I remember there was one of us, like we had a clique, because we weren't many in the area that we were in. I think as of the last time they were counted, they were not up to 20 graduates up to now. And out of those 20 graduates, my father had 7.
Whoa.
In that corner, well, I broke down loud, I think last week when we spoke, that same place. And so there was a guy amongst us who had finished school. With his secondary school, he was working in a bank. And he was making money, and he was making fun of us because he could instantly make money. He didn't get his degree. The rest of us that were getting degrees, they were making fun of us. At the end of the day, we turned out better. So it's the same thing also now. Instead of using internet to educate themselves and learn, they're using it to make the quick money they can now, not knowing that it's not going to last. But at the end of the day, there's a major problem we need to work.
Curriculum is about critical thinking. What are your needs? Sure. For example, we have a very successful model from our Igbo brothers and sisters, apprenticeship from Alaba. Yes. When have we tried to codify it into knowledge modules and go into schools? Those of you who are commerce students, let somebody who in post come and talk to them about how much money is possible there. We need to bring education nearer home in practical terms. And second of all, have we even mapped? Nigeria is one of the wealthiest countries in terms of mineral resources. Have we done a mapping of our mineral resources to now from secondary school? Kids who are good in geography or related field, we start preparing them to go and acquire that technology for us to be able to do it.
They're selling the minerals.
Because what we need to do as a country, we need to get serious about development. Development requires critical thinking and it requires forward thinking as well.
Bridging the gap ensures that the supply and demand Yinka spoke of are more connected in a healthy, productive way. It's a win-win for everybody.
I'd say a no-brainer, Zumah, unless these gaps are left unbridged due to a more sinister and selfish agenda. Corruption is a pervasive issue that has plagued Nigeria for decades. Its effects far-reaching, touching every aspect of our society. Concerning the economy, corruption diverts public funds into private hands, depriving the nation of resources needed for critical infrastructure, projects, education, and healthcare, leading to a decline in the quality of public services. Corruption discourages foreign investment, whether we like it or not, as businesses are wary of operating in a system where bribery and other forms of corruption are rampant. In the political sphere, corruption erodes public trust in government institutions. When citizens perceive that their leaders are more interested in personal gain than in serving the public interest, it leads to disillusionment and apathy. This can undermine the democratic process as people become less likely to participate in elections or engage in civic activities. Corruption breeds political instability as competition for resources and power becomes more intense and even violent. The social consequences of corruption are equally devastating and severe. Corruption deepens inequality as those with connections and resources can benefit at the expense of the majority. Moreover, corruption undermines the rule of law as those who are corrupt are often able to evade justice. Corruption also has a direct impact on the lives of the ordinary Nigerian. It can lead to poor healthcare outcomes as funds meant for hospitals, clinics, healthcare centers are misappropriated. It can also result in substandard education as resources meant for schools are diverted. In some cases, Corruption can even lead to loss of lives, as when substandard materials are used in construction projects due to bribery. Addressing corruption in Nigeria requires a multifaceted approach. 1, strong political will to enforce anti-corruption laws and hold those who are corrupt accountable. 2, strengthening institutions such as our judiciary, law enforcement agencies to ensure that they are independent and effective. 3, promoting transparency and accountability in government processes such that citizens can access information about how public funds are used and have mechanisms to report corruption. The fight against corruption is a fight for the future of Nigeria. It's a fight to build a society where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
I think you've literally said everything. I would say corruption kills. Most times when we are talking about village people, I mean, we say village people, municipalities and powers, enemies and all of that. It's actually corruption. There's a pothole on the road that ought to have been repaired, a road that ought to have been built. There's an accident and people die and we blame enemies instead of blaming the corruption that led to it. And the most heartbreaking thing is that it's so pervasive in our society that people have taken it as normal. As it's literally normal for exams to be written for children in primary schools, in secondary schools, university, for them to be told the answers. And so people who go through all of this, for jobs to be bought for them, they don't understand that there's something wrong with that corruption. In all of our country, why we are where we are today, it's all about corruption. Like you talked about the electoral process. If there's no free, fair, credible election, then people's mandates are stolen. And then when that happens, people don't feel the need to go out there and, you know, elect.
Exercise
because at the end of the
civil.
day, it's in futility. So we have almost every part of our lives. And what is most painful is the fact that the incorruptible ones are the ones who are shamed today in Nigeria. So if you do the right thing, you're the one who is shamed, you're the one who is looked down upon. Oh, you got in there, your mates were stealing money, what were you doing? I've seen tweets where people were saying, are saying, what were our parents doing where others were looting money? Yeah. So it's now almost as if, yes, those of you the person who goes in there and does the right thing is the one that we insult, they will abuse. Meanwhile, the ones who are corrupt are the ones who are hailed.
I believe that we're at a point now in our society in which we even need to redefine what our values are.
Yes.
That we have to go back to the drawing board. Let me give you an example. I see on social media quite a few times you're asking a young girl, do you want a civil servant, a cobalt or a Yahoo boy? They will say Yahoo boy. So how can you build a country? We're not on the same page. We're not on the same page anymore. So we have to go back and agree that this is the kind of people we want to be. Then once we've identified the values, that we now have to build a national consensus around those values. We have to go to the beginning. So we need to go back as a people and agree that these will be our values. And then build a national consensus around that. Then second of all, we need to make good conduct attractive again. Now, back in the day when I was a kid, when people were given national honors, there was no doubt that they had sterling qualities that other people had to emulate. We need to go back and make good conduct attractive again. Then, third of all, I am taking a direct shot at this category of Nigerians, our traditional rulers. They're supposed to be the custodians of our values. What are they doing? They buy limousines and
they are closer to the people.
They buy limousines and Rolls Royces and go and attend billionaires' parties. If you are indeed a custodian of our values, it behooves you to bring those values close to the people. Why is an Oba in Lagos not in a secondary school teaching them, and by the way, our values across ethnic divides are the same. Hard work, integrity. Why don't we bring that to the kids in their formative years?
A lot of people don't engage in second order thinking. They only think about the consequence of their action now, not the cumulative effect.
Zumah, what is second order thinking? I'm not joking.
I love it.
I don't understand
Okay, so say I embezzle money and I feel like, okay, now I can buy limousine, I can buy mansions and all of that. I'm not thinking about the
far-reaching effects.
Okay, the money I'm embezzling is meant to provide education for my people.
Yes.
It's meant to provide healthcare for my people. I'm probably giving those people 50K right now, but it is not sustainable for them, and it is not for the benefits of the entire community. So that is second order thinking. You have to think about now and then the next
Consequences.
level. Consequences.
Thank you.
That's it. And also, I agree with Ladi. NOA needs to embark on a sensitization of what corruption is, because a lot of Nigerians don't know what entails corruption, and that is why they are loud about it.
Yes.
It is very, someone will tell you, oh, before I signed the whatever for him, he gave me 100K. Like, okay, wait, you are proud to say you collected back, they don't even know it is wrong. So there is a huge gap, there is a huge disconnect in that space. So there has to be a sensitization, what corruption is and its corresponding effect. So now you know what it is, but you know how it affects.
And you know how you are contributing.
And how you are contributing. And I also think that the consequences we attach to corruption issues, they are not there enough. And that is why it is pervasive.
Yes.
Someone will steal billions, you'll say, okay, you have the option of 500 million naira fine or 3 months or 6 months in prison. Why? Why not?
Or you do a deal.
Or you do a deal. Why? So we have to stop rewarding bad behavior.
Yes.
The consequences needs to be higher than the crime. Such as like, okay, this is not worth it. If you know if you steal 100K, your fine is 1 million or 10 years in prison, you'll be like, okay, is it really worth it? No, it's not. People are not incentivized to behave right. You
Correct.
have to force them to do it. That's it.
I mean, I agree absolutely with Aisha when she talks about how we have normalized corruption. In fact, I wrote down here that we have mainstreamed corruption. And it comes from a place where I believe that when we say that corruption is part of the system in Nigeria, we undervalue it. Corruption is not actually part of our system.
It is a system.
It is the system. You know, in this country, we had the president who said that if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. But then the next president that came said that we can't eradicate corruption, we can minimize it. And I felt that that statement in itself was one of the most
self-harming.
Permissive.
One of the most unfortunate statements to have made, because what you've just done is that you just enabled and normalized it. You've told the corrupt government official that it's fine to be corrupt as long as you can minimize it. So we need to have a reset. And I agree with you completely, Zumah, when you said that the punishment, actually wrote it down, the punishment for corruption must be more severe. Today, it is more, the punishment for stealing is bigger than the punishment for corruption. All right, in Nigeria, today. So we have to look at it and tell ourselves that, look, there's something wrong with this. If you embezzle money, which is the reason why I like what Kate said, and in some cases corruption can even lead to the loss of life. We must understand that a man that takes away public funds, diverts public funds for his own private uses, could actually lead to the deaths of people. And because of that, we should elevate the crime of corruption and make sure that the punishment for it is very severe.
And they should stop blaming the devil. The devil is sitting down chilling and blaming the devil for everything.
Because we're fighting for the future of Nigeria, it has to get to the point where, like Aisha usually says, the son of nobody who becomes somebody without needing anybody. I'm not about to throw in the towel anytime soon. How about you, Aisha?
Kate, remember when I said that if those who are stealing from us haven't gotten tired, then we too, we can't afford to be tired. I meant every word of that. I have a question. Please, I want to be answered as if I'm 2 years old. Because on this one, I don't understand. Why do Nigerian banks allow monies to be paid into dormant accounts? When I Googled the meaning of dormant account, what I got was this. A dormant account is an account that has had no financial activity for a long period of time, except for the posting of interest. My advocacy for today is not whether accounts should go dormant or not. That's a story for another day, advocacy for another day. My advocacy is that if monies cannot be withdrawn from dormant accounts, then monies should also not be transferred or paid into dormant accounts. It seems as if the banks want to hold on to the monies of their customers by whatever means possible. What is even worse is that some of these banks will not close your accounts even when you have written to them to do so. They collect all the documentation that is necessary to close the account and then do nothing. One day, you are just sitting there jelly. You get money gets paid into that account by someone who probably had that account number. And getting your money out becomes a problem as the account is now labeled dormant. Getting monies out of a dormant account is like going to war, especially if it's a business account. You spend days and even weeks sometimes getting all the documents needed to activate the account again. They even ask you to bring referees as if that is not an account that you have opened with them. All of this going on while your money is sitting pretty, chilling in the bank accounts. Imagine how many dormant accounts get monies paid into them daily and how long it takes for the owners of those accounts to get their monies out. In between that, the banks are gaining from holding on to people's monies while depriving people, most especially businesses, the monies that they need to use and sometimes they need to use urgently. It is time for banks to stop allowing deposits if they will not allow withdrawals.
Recently, I had this account more than 10 years old, and then my brother accidentally paid money into it.
I have the same story.
Oh, yes. And then it was like, oh, I didn't receive an alert. I was like, oh, send me what account did you pay it into? So I now called the bank, like, okay, I had a wrong transfer to this account. Can you move it to another account in the same bank?
Same bank, your own account?
My own account, both with my name.
They say it's dormant.
They said it's dormant, it cannot be done. I said, okay, fine, well and good. Can I close the account? They said, I will have to reactivate the account first.
Before you close it?
How does the process work? They have to come into the bank. I'm like, what? I said, I am not doing it again. This is a relationship. I said, I don't want to be a part of this again. And I have to come and talk to you face to face. It's not going to happen. In my generation, we ghost people. We don't have face-to-face conversation when we are not doing anymore. You know, after a series of calls, series of emails, oh, you'd have to bring this, you have to provide an item. Like, you have all of this.
That in your...
Why does it have to be so hard? I called them out on Twitter. I sent a series of mails copying the regulatory authorities. I had to provide series of documentation to prove that I own an account. I'm not even saying another bank. I have the same name, the same everything. Put all of that, and I said, okay, yes, that they still need me to come. It was at that point I just flipped. Like, guys, if I have the time to come, I wouldn't be doing this for the past 2 weeks. I don't have the time. Even if I have the time, I have no plans of coming into your branch. If I have to come to your branch, I'm closing all my accounts.
Taking a hostage.
Like, I was literally being held at gunpoint. Just give me my money. I'm not doing it anymore. And then I copied CBN. I got a couple of people. Eventually, they said, okay, they will handle it. And then they said they wanted to do verification. They wanted to call me to ensure that okay, call me.
I'm tired already. Just
a lot of people would have let the process go.
Yes,
so
and then they now keep the money.
If the money was negligible, we were like maybe 50 or 100K, I wouldn't be like, see, I can't even deal with this madness, you know. But because it was substantial, and I had already done what I was supposed to do with the money,
We spent the money.
Now, banks are in the business of making money with money. Okay, so money is their business. And so the reality is that there's what we call the interbank, basically market, in terms of banks borrow and lend with each other on a daily basis. So your ability to lend as a bank to make money out of that, it depends on your deposit.
Liquidity.
So that's why there's a lot of deposit drive from the bank. Sometimes you realize that when you want to move money, large amounts of money from your bank to another bank, your bank RM will call you and say, hey, we have the account of that person in our bank. Why don't you just move? Because there's a lot of deposit, drive. So this is really what happens. Now, is this standard practice, international practice? No.
No, of course not.
That is Niger for you.
So it's a regulatory gap. So it is a regulatory gap.
Yeah.
It's Niger corruption that the banks are also.
Yes.
So the thing is, what usually happens is, dormant accounts is international. An account is supposed to have activity. Activity means money's coming in, money's going out. That's what it is. So what you expect is that money's coming in represents an activity. So if there's money coming in regularly, then there shouldn't be any question of dormancy. But if there's a long period of time, and usually it's on a timer, all right, maybe like 3 months or something like that, and there's no activity, the account automatically goes to dormant. Now, what happens on the side of the bank is that account leaves the branch or whatever, it goes into another, internal control or whatever, and they must release that account before you can even do anything. Now, what happens is that once it gets into that level, from a treasury perspective, the bank wants to make money, so they will not stop you from money coming in. But once there has to be a debit, certain things has to be done on the back of the bank.
The same thing should be done when there's a credit
to approve that. Now, where it gets complicated is that once you want to take out of the bank, out of that account, they look at the KYC. And then they take that opportunity to update the KYC of the account.
Okay.
So things like your ID has expired, you need to provide that.
Okay.
Now, what is the annoying part of it, which is what you guys are experiencing, is that banks, especially banks in Nigeria, are the worst store of documents.
Yes.
So there's no reason why a bank is asking you for your certificate of incorporation, for your referees and all that. The reason they're asking is because they've lost it. They've lost the document. And so the reason they've lost the document is because they didn't keep the documents very well in the first place.
Yinka, that was a very spirited attempt at providing a defense for them.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not
moved.
You're not making
that.
excuses.
If you have the temerity or the proclivity to drive deposits, to fill your vault, to put in a better stead to do a lot of business, there should be a corresponding
Temerity
desire
and proclivity
to provide service, good quality service and value to the customer. The two must go together.
Pari passu.
That's the first point. Then second of all, the banks have failed us in all ramifications. So they're just feeding fat. They're like parasites on us. From COTs to card maintenance. What the hell is a card maintenance charge? I've never heard it in any other point.
Please,
I give you time. Card maintenance. Wait, the card is in my pocket. Where are you maintaining it?
The cloud.
Card maintenance charge. I've never heard it in any other country before. I've asked my family and friends who live abroad when I card me the
Nigerian banks are corrupt.
Then they never grant loans and they never put money in the real sector. And then they charge ridiculous interest above 20%, which we all know no country that is serious to develop its economy can live. No business, legitimate business, can survive on those sorts of things. And I wonder why it has taken so many regimes and is still a norm. Why haven't we changed that?
Can I respond?
Please, you have to respond, particularly to the NPR part.
30 seconds.
So there's a guide that is provided by the regulator. Okay, so there's a regulator, which is CBN. The CBN provides a guide of the fees that the banks can charge. And I think that people must educate themselves about this charge, because right in that guide is also how you can avoid some of these charges. People don't know that there's actually a way they can avoid the charges.
Enlighten us.
I mean, it's not for today's conversation, but we'll have those conversations later. Talking about the interest rates, NPL today is at 27.5%. So how much do you think the banks should lend you? Below that?
So it's the fault of CBN?
Yeah.
It's a monetary.
It's a monetary policy issue, you know. So don't blame the banks, blame the CPN.
The regulatory body.
Yeah, that's the only one. But the other blame we talked about is on the bank. Kids.
No, my own is there are 2 banks. I've told them close their account. They said, no, don't worry. Just take what you need. Leave maybe 15 naira. Yeah, they're calling me every other day. They're calling. I've closed my account with you people. They say we should not name and shame. I'm coming to their office. I'm just tired because we are, again, walking backwards, going back to the archaic days when it comes to banking. You go abroad and you want to bank, you hardly see tellers. Just do what you have to do, pay your money, and then you'll be going. Unless it's a serious situation, you don't have to come in.
Yeah.
And they're making so much money off our backs. A lot card maintenance. Oh, this card gives you access to some lounge. You pay. Oh, this one you pay. You pay. At the end of the day, if you calculate how much they have taken from you, Yinka, your people,
Can I advise something, Kate? Can I advise something? Especially for those who are closing their accounts, and this is a free advice. Is that number one, banks never close accounts.
Why? But why?
They will tell you they've closed it, but internally that account still exists.
Why?
The only way you can be sure that they've closed the account, and that's the test that everybody must do, is that once you issue an instruction to them to close the account, you must ask them for a certificate of account closure.
Good. I love this.
So you must ask them for that, and once they give you that, it can be a certificate, it can be a letter. Once they give you that, go on LIMS, all right, or probably just try to do a transfer. Search for that account. If that account comes up, they've not closed the account.
Thank you.
If they close the account, then it must not exist on the NIMS system.
NIMS.
When I'm opening an account, I don't have to go to FP. But when I'm
Those 2 banks, you know yourself. I'm coming.
We tell it like it is, and we fight. Not because we can't act like it doesn't concern us. Join us again, same time, next week, same channel, when we'll be tabling fresh topics that matter to you and me. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us.
Arrivederci.
Bye.